Oh dear. So on the order of business here, we meant to start at 1:15, so we're already 5 minutes late, so that'll have to charge you off for the upkeep of the room as a result. So welcome to this, the 16th ordinary meeting of the 174th session of the Literary and Scientific Society, or as I like to call it, the 11th Circle of Hell. You're all on the Voyage of the Damned here, and you're here for our birthday debate. So tonight we're going to be debating the motion, if you haven't heard, on this House would abolish the monarchy, which was apparently, so the sheet in front of me tells me that this was the first ever topic debated here at the Society many, many moons ago when Ryan and I were just starting out here in the Society. So thank you all for coming. For those of you who didn't get a seat, tough luck. So I suppose the big elephant in the room, big white elephant in my sort of slightly, no, it's not really white, jacket here, is why exactly am I standing here doing this? Unfortunately, I have to announce here that our president has decided to announce to the council that he is going to be resigning with immediate effect, along with the secretary and the internal convener, I should say. And as a result, an extraordinary general meeting of the Society will be called on the 20th, the new president being in place for the 23rd, which is our debate on the Thatcher debate. So I suppose some of you might turn up for that debate, I don't know, depending how it goes tonight. So, do we have any other council announcements for tonight? I'll state your name for the minutes.
Donald Hummel, I'm the outreach officer. So I have quite a few bits to go through tonight. So on the 27th of February, we have the NI Schools Cup, which will be our debating competition here in Queens for schools. So we're inviting schools from right across the province to take part and debate against each other. We're hoping to hold a pretty big event. We are inviting schools from all across the 6 counties with a really high standard of debate. I've been going around doing workshops with them. They're really, really strong debaters. But with a competition like that, I need people to step up and to volunteer to help run the show. We need judges, we need volunteers to get students rooms. We might at times need a couple of swing speakers, so in the event that a student decides to throw up or something, we might need somebody to jump in. So if you've never debated before and you think, wow, I could maybe debate against a 16-year-old, now's your chance. As a result of the resignation of our internal convener, I'm also filling in. So next week, we do not have any spots on this house to regret the rise of dating apps. We could make it 4v4 if there was a speaker that joined for each side. Thatcher is also full up.
You're skirting close to the line here.
There is a space on this house for embrace nuclear energy as renewable on the opposition. So I've just been informed that there is now a spot on opposition of that side regrets the rise of dating apps. So if you regret dating apps, if you really like Grindr, Tinder and playing the game that is Hinge, please sign up. You can also sign up to oppose nuclear energy. We also could do with another speaker on this house regrets the Reformation, so if someone wants to send a proposition for that, please do. And we also have plenty of spots on each side for this house would abolish Queen's SU. Please sign up if you're looking to come see me tonight at the pub, and I'll be available for the next couple of weeks. So,
So my council announcement isn't anything regarding the business of the site, but I just thought I'd like to welcome Martin Craigs here, who is a member of the Literific Trust, and the Literific Trust is a body of academics, experts, people who've done well in business, all those sorts of things, who sort of advise on the running of the society. So I'm very grateful for Martin's attendance for this, which should be a very interesting debate.
Thank you. Council?
Me.
Oh.
So I'm THW Abolish, I'm the external convener. If you want to do UCD's IV on the 11th and 12th of March, please contact me. It's BP debating, 15-minute craft debates. A lot of fun, and they're not very stressful because you don't even have to prepare for them. So yeah, contact me at the society stage.
Anyone else? No? No? All right, well then we'll head on to the minutes there, so we'll get our secretary, Josie, then give those.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Society. Thank you all for coming here tonight. So on the 2nd of February 2023, the Queen's University Belfast Literary and Scientific Society convened for the 15th ordinary meeting of the 174th session for the motion, "This House believes that technology will destroy the world." As usual, the meeting began with announcements. Ryan Hoey, HLM, thanked members for attending the drunk debates, which had raised £130 for the South Belfast Food Bank, so well done Ryan for that. THW McSparran presented the Warwick IV and encouraged members to sign up. Following a reading of the minutes, the meeting moved to private members' business. Noah Barnley presented the proposal for a general election to be called using an online petition. Responses were heard by Ryan Hoey, Dermot Hamill, James Orchin HLM, and Daniel McCormick. Jacqueline Bonner highlighted an American company investing hundreds of millions in reviving the dodo from extinction. Responses were heard by Jay Radcliffe HLM, Noah Barnley, and Dermot Hamill. President's questions then took place. Matthew Taylor asked Acting President Ellie Byrne HLM what they'd had for breakfast. They had nothing. Dermot Hamill then insolently asked Ellie whether they could help him to identify the local South Belfast Green Party MLA. After President's questions, the vote of prior opinion was held. There were 34 votes for aye, 29 votes for nay, and 9 abstentions, so the proposition had it. First on the proposition was Josie Tuttiard. She argued that AI interferes with human emotions and that technology takes over human life and will destroy us all. Josie highlighted the fallacy of artificial intelligence creating a false impression of what true human relationships are, flawed and shitty. She concluded by pointing to the negatives of the app My Virtual Girlfriend and how it misrepresents the realities of being human. First on the opposition was Jazz Geary. He argued that the motion is flawed. Jazz claimed that the premise of the film The Terminator was impossible. Computers cannot become self-learning, and life on Earth could not be ended in a plethora of ways not involving artificial intelligence, namely through a pandemic or climate change. Jazz concluded that catastrophes, I can't say that word, bring human ingenuity to the fore and solutions could be found. Second on the proposition was Michael McKee. He began by highlighting the serious dangers of computer software and artificial intelligence to life as we know it. Computer models can be easily manipulated and can deceive humans. Technology conveys contradictory information to us in the form of so-called pseudo-truths. Or, for instance, high-quality essay writing software used by students at Stanford University ultimately failed students as it was unreliable and misleading. Second on the opposition was Ashlyn Byrne. She proposed that technology won't destroy the world, capitalism will. Technology is man-made and not beyond our control. Technology is used to spread the influence of capitalism and control people therein. Constant exposure to media keeps technology exerting the grips of capitalism over human consciousness. Technology can be directed for good causes by humanity, not just promoting the ideals and goals of capitalism. Third on the proposition was Harry Shaw. He warned of perpetual surveillance as foretold by George Orwell's novel 1984. Many aspects of human ingenuity are not dependent on technology, but they ultimately serve to drive the use of technology. Copper mining in the Democratic Republic of Congo for use in consumer electronics has caused serious travesties, such as child labor and slavery. Technology has created conflict between the two largest superpowers, the US and China, in the form of a technology race and cyber warfare. Third on the opposition was Floss Morris. She argued that to use technology will destroy the world, or to say that technology will destroy the world is fundamentally a waste of time. Technology is not strictly digital, as it has evolved alongside humans. Floss stated that climate anxiety has been somewhat elevated by the ongoing evolution in technology that humans use. She concluded that humanity should never accept the inevitability technology will destroy the world. The final speaker on the proposition was Dermot Hamill. He argued that technology is bad and can be summed up by looking at 3 different forms of technology, namely vapes, vibrators, and rat traps. The negatives of the use of vapes can be aptly summed up with the image of humans dying of popcorn lung, depression, and nicotine addiction. Vibrators have caused a drop in the birth rate, and rat traps seek to destroy our rodent population. He concluded that South Belfast and Ulster say no to rat traps. The final speaker on the opposition was Tom Burns. He started by saying that some members of the House are probably in dire need of an AI girlfriend or sex robot. He argued technology is a creation and a process. He concluded by emphasizing that technology can be controlled by humans due to its passivity. Questions were heard by J. Radcliffe HLM, Danny McCormick, Cormac McSparron, and Hebe Lawson. Following the debate and questions from the House, the vote of speakerability took place. There were 14 votes for the proposition, 44 votes for the opposition, and 9 abstentions, so the opposition had it. May I take the minutes as read?
Right, for those of you who can read, it's private members' business we're on to now. We're enabled somebody here to propose something to talk about for the next minute or two, and for the rest of you to give your opinions on it. So does anybody have any... Oh, this is a surprise. Eeny, meeny, miny. Say your name for the minutes as well.
Ryan Hoey. I don't know if people saw this week was the State of the Union address by President Biden. Of course, the Americans are wrong because they have a president rather than a monarch. But anyway, in that there was an interesting. In that there was an interesting exchange where Biden basically said that the Republicans want to get rid of Social Security and Medicare, and then the Republicans started shouting back at him. And there were some other odd parts of the address, but I was just wondering what the House's opinions are on it.
Right. Oh, this is... Okay, right. All very near the middle of the room here. Right, I'll go to say your name for the minutes.
Dermot Hamill. I actually really enjoyed the discourse around the State of the Union address. I mean, first of all, it's no union like our good union of Great Britain and Ireland. We say it now, but
I'd like to know he said Ireland as opposed to Northern Ireland there. The truth, apparently, according to him.
But what I really enjoyed about the State of the Union was Trump's response on Truth Social, in which he became pro-Biden. Like, he talked about how lovely Jill Biden's dress was, how Joe wasn't a cunt, how he delivered the speech really well, and it was like, for a man that went through an election campaign in which he largely just insinuated that Biden had dementia for a long time, to get to the point where, wow, Trump is complimenting Biden is, I think that shows that a leopard can change his spots. So I think we ought to give.
I think we're all aware of that with you here
We ought to
tonight.
give the President Emeritus Donald Trump a round of applause.
Jimmy Ward. So, Sleepy Joe doesn't even know what day of the week it is. And State of the Union address as well. The sentiments were there, but let's face it, it was meaningless. Sleepy Joe, operative for Kamala Harris. Kamala will take the White House for 2024 will be elected. So what's the point in debating this?
Right, okay.
I'd just like to say that I think
Your name for the minutes?
Pardon me, Jacqueline Bonner. I would like to say I just think that Trump's coming around to Biden as the consummation of the enemies to lovers arc we all knew was going to be this entire time. That's my 2 cents.
Just like me and his majesty.
Anyone else?
Well, I think regardless of what you think about the State of the Union address, one of the highlights was, of course, a chap called George Santos, which, if you're not aware of George Santos, he is what we call a bullshitter. Just like every politician, he's told more lies than he can keep count of. And he's lied about where he went to college, what he did as a job, the fact that he's had a very successful career, but people don't even know what his real name is. But there was a great point where my favourite Republican, which is of course Mitt Romney, Senator for Utah,
You're going down in my estimates.
as usual, turned around to him and called him a dirty dog and told him to sit at the back of the room. And now I don't know what the House's opinion are on the State of the Union, but I think we can all agree that George Santos is a rather dirty dog that should be sat at the back of the room.
I have to be honest, you saying it with a grin in your face, looking towards me, saying the word dirty dog. Very, anyone else?
Noah Barnley. One interesting thing that came out of the State of the Union address was the America First movement led by Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes came out and said that, that's not a promise. Fuentes came out and said that Biden and his administration are a very effective counter to Trump's movement, and so it's just showing that, like, yeah, Biden is a wee bit old, a bit riddled, like Jamie said, but like, it doesn't really matter because so Trump.
Okay, that was surprisingly moderate there. Right. Yes.
I don't have too much to say about the State of the Union because, as like the rest of you, I didn't actually watch the whole thing. I can't address Mr. Trump's comments because, unlike you, Mr. Hamill, I'm not on Truth Social. I think it was the State of the Union, especially Mitt Romney talking some sense, which I think is one of the four horsemen of being popular.
Always done.
And also Joe Biden not falling asleep or forgetting which country he's the president of is quite a wonder in itself. But I would just say that the worst thing that came out of the State of the Union, and the thing that makes me think that American democracy should just be done away with, is the fact that Bono was there. This is clearly a sign that the founding fathers of America had wronged, and embracing monarchy, I think, with Joe Biden at the head is the only.
I think it was St. Patrick's Day last year that Bono was invited over as a special guest of Nancy Pelosi, and he had written a poem. Bono had decided to write a poem for Nancy Pelosi for St. Patrick's Day where he compared, Zelensky to St. Patrick. It's a very fun read if you want to, right? Any other additional bits of private members' business? And state your name for the minutes.
So the other day, in amongst many big news stories, there was a sort of story that sort of slipped in and everyone missed. But Barry Ahern has rejoined the foil, so are we going to see a comeback of Barry Ahern either in the mainstream politics or in the presidential vote? But no, there there are big differences now. Bertie Ahern Everyman will now be running a campaign where he's giving yellow envelopes. He's got a bank account now. Like, this is a totally changed man. So maybe another leopard has changed his spots.
You seem oddly excited by this. Go on.
Boom is back, Bertie's back, and I think we should all embrace Bertie not only as the next president of Ireland, not only as the next president of the world, but Bertie Ahern, king of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. That's why democracy doesn't work.
I suppose I'll probably go to the last Fianna Fáil voter.
I'm proud of it, right? Well, my great auntie would always say, and she said it at the time, she said it at the time that all the false allegations were coming out. Still remain false and unsubstantiated. But she always said it, and I think it's true for all good people, is that Bertie never done anything bad to me. Bertie was always good to us, and he was always good to Ireland, and he was a good Ireland. And any of you who will slander Bertie Ahern, I'll be having a word with at the pub. I'm happy with the Bertie slander.
Anyone else? Oh, yes. Speak.
I think I should maybe upgrade my estimate for the next Irish election. I think Mary Lou McDonald isn't going to lead a coalition. She's probably going to win a majority of this, just because it's Bertie Ahern.
But I suppose as a counterpoint, Bertie Ahern is also a counterpoint to that as well. I mean, see, right.
Jimmy Ward. So, no one's actually mentioned about this thing called the Celtic Tiger, which lasted from about 1997 to 1998. Sorry, 2008. Bertie, it was a bit of a roller coaster. I think Bertie happened to hop on at the right time. At the end of the day, if it was, say, Micheál Martin. He's been a TD since 1988. If he happened to be the leader of Fianna Fáil, he would have enjoyed the delights of it. So I think it was purely circumstantial that Bertie was Taoiseach at the time.
Go on.
I think to sum up the point that you're making there, Jamie, is that Bertie Ahern is a good omen. Bertie Ahern is back. Ireland is back. That's all I have to say.
America's back.
America's back, yes. I suppose it's better to be a good omen than the omen, I suppose, is probably that. Any other final additional points? Gosh, none of you seem to have an opinion. Oh, no.
I wore a suit once again, been banned for months from wearing a proper suit. Aren't you wearing a suit? I don't know the jacket, I want the jacket.
It's your decision. I mean, it's freezing out. Right, put a motion. If you can get a seconder, you will.
Someone second.
Right, on the motion that he did not freeze to death, all those in favour say aye and put your hand up. I tried. Democracy doesn't work. All those in favour of him freezing to death say nay. Who knew there was such a giant pro-pneumonia block here? And for our beloved Alliance voters who are abstaining, I think I can... Really, you don't even have a strong opinion on the subject. Okay, right. I'm going to take an assessment here and think it probably failed the motion. Yeah, I think so. So, right, now we go on to Joy. So, no. So, what was it? I think it was Andy Warhol famously said everyone gets their own 15 minutes of fame. Well, this is my 15 minutes of pain. Okay, choose my poison. I'll be Dermot.
Mr. President, the spirit of the tradition of this society, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
Well, I'm a normal person, so I actually have breakfast. I had cereal the same cereal I've eaten for probably the past 10 years I eat, which is Rice Krispies, which suits my personality very well. It's a big bowl, it's a really big bowl, and because I'm a big, strong, growing boy here, and I have to have it.
Mr. President, do you have any strong opinions on the French?
I refer you to the position by our sadly deceased former president from last week. I refer to you to his position, which I won't repeat because there's a camera there and my face is there, which was...
I'll cut it out for you.
Okay, well he said he would condemn the French, and that's a position I wholeheartedly agree with. Okay,
Right, so
state your name for the minutes, no idea who you are.
Right, so we all know that you're. I hate you so. So essentially, you like films. What is your favorite terrible film?
Well, I refer you back to my speech I gave on the Oscars, and I suggested 5 of the best movies, which you can go and review if you were here, but I'd say probably the best bad movie. I guess anything nominated for the Oscars this year, you could probably say is bad. You can ask me that in the pub, because I actually can't think of anything witty at this exact moment, because I haven't got a script.
Mr. President, what are your thoughts on the Alliance Party?
That's it.
You're going to find out when we're voting. Sam.
Mr. President, why aren't you wearing the beret that you came in with?
Because it's very bad not to wear a hat indoors.
Well, should you wear the beret for the rest?
What a crowd.
No, beret.
All right, all those in favour of subjecting me to wear a hat? All right. Take it out of the bag. You have permission to take it out of the bag.
James or Chin HLM. Why does it fail the personating a doctor, given the fact you're only in the first year on PhD?
I didn't do the slideshow, but actually I went on to one of those dodgy churches in America where you can become a minister. Thus I am actually a doctor of divinity now, as of half an hour ago. Any other questions that aren't about my lunch or... Okay.
Yes, Terence Metcalf from the Groundlings section here. Not meaning to prejudice the debate, but would you mind sharing with the room your favourite British monarch and explain why?
Oh, so many choices. To be honest, I think honestly it'd have to be Henry V, because he hammered the French. And then again, William the Conqueror also had the best idea of leaving France and getting as far away from it as possible. So it's a tough call.
Both of those are English kings, not British monarchs.
Let's not split hairs here now. Finally.
Yes, I didn't know why the will of the House has been willfully ignored and you're not.
I've asked Mr. Warren here to take the hat out of my bag and throw it at me. Jamie. Yeah, it's the one with the ticking noise.
Throw it out. In the car?
Right, okay. Hom, baguette. There I said it. Right, right, the 3 of you will get it, so start with Dermot.
Mr. President, whenever you gave your Oscar speech, you showed us the favourite films of Rory McSparren. Now, out of the favourite films of Rory McSparren, which is your favourite?
Where's Rory? Rory, would you like to inform the House of your top 5 favourite movies? In order of decreasing importance.
Apparently my top 3 were Brokeback Mountain. I'd have to put the other two to call me by your name, maybe. They're all up there. So you can pick between those two.
Like, as president, I'm not allowed to have an opinion, and thus I cannot express an opinion on this here because it would show a political position. I don't know what political position it would be showing, but it might be showing one nevertheless, and I'll be talking to you afterwards. Yes.
Jack Sands, Mr. President, you've expressed a virulent hatred of the French. I'd like to ask why you're wearing what appears to be a French beret.
Because I stole it from a Frenchman. A dispute over a vineyard down in the south, but I got it. Well, I got the hat, he got the vineyard. Right. Finally, Bertie.
Expand on that point. I'm fine with that. Where did you bury the Frenchman?
You know how you sort of get the soil to have really good quality for growing the wine? Well, use your imagination, I should say. Okay, yeah, okay, last one.
Is the Frenchman buried in your shirt hair?
Pardon? Good thing I didn't hear it. Well, good thing I didn't actually hear it, so that's good. I don't think I need to hear it. It wasn't you tonight. Remove his shoes, please. No. Right, finally the agony is over and I can take that off. And we're on to the motion. So, vote of prior opinion. So this is the part where you actually have an opinion. You know, it's quite hard to have that on the motion. Is there going to be a motion up, or is the motion going to show on the screen for them with a nice picture or not? There we go. So we have a lovely picture of His Majesty. So on the motion, this house would abolish the monarchy. All those in favour of that, raise your hand, you dirty Guardian readers, and say aye. Wow, this is a surprise. Look at all these big people. I lost count. What? Right, okay, now, I'm disgusted in you, Kira. Okay, for those of you who are opposed to the motion, saying nay. Nay. Hang on, there's actually more than one of you. This is 2, 3, 4. Okay, you can all put your hands down. Okay, you can put your hands down. Look, we're going to be here as long as Now, then for abstaining, so those of you who routinely vote for the Alliance Party and don't have an opinion on anything, please raise your hand. Of course you do. Raise your hand and say,
Keep your hands up.
Evidently the train from Bangor was delayed. Madam Secretary, could you please read out the number of votes on this fine evening?
48 votes for aye, 18 votes for nay, and 2 abstentions, so the proposition happens.
Right. So, please sit on my chair. I call.
Move out of the way, David. Move.
I call for the first proposition speaker, Noah Barnley.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the proposition, members of the opposition, and members of the House. Now, before I start, I'd like to disclaim that I have never been a Liberal Democrat or a member of the Conservative Party. And nor will I blame a losing of this debate on the left-wing economic establishment. And the digs against Liz Truss aside, I'm very glad to be here. This debate is obviously going to get pretty heated. The House knows I'm not a man with many strong political opinions. I just want the grill. I would also like to preemptively explain that I'm going to discuss things tonight that are quite uncomfortable surrounding a certain member of the royal family. So if that makes you uncomfortable, I do apologise in advance. One of the reasons why I'm here to advocate for the abolition of the monarchy is because of the cost made at the expense of the taxpayer and the status represented by this, the most elite class in Great Britain. In doing research for this, I had to delve into centuries-old parliamentary procedure and convention. Erskine May is an accumulation of this. It states that to use the sovereign's name to influence a decision is, and I quote, unconstitutional in principle and inconsistent with the independence of Parliament.
Yeah.
This also extends to other mentions of members of the royal family. Now, this is quite heavily policed, unless it is a matter of discussing things such as palaces or the funding of the institution itself. In a Prime Minister's question session, Keir Starmer attempted to lambast then Prime Minister Boris Johnson on the Queen obeying the COVID-19 guidance, whereas the Prime Minister at the time shamelessly flouted the rules. The Speaker of the House, after Starmer sat down, said quite rightly, we don't talk about members of the royal family. Now, the only justification for this was that ministers can only deal with matters of ministerial responsibility, and since no ministers answered a Parliament for or about the royal family, the subject is off limits. Now, a question I pose to the opposition and to the rest of the House is if they can't discuss them and we, the public, have no institutional power as such, how can we even have serious discussions about abolishing the monarchy? There's a law called the Treason Felony Act of 1848, and the Act makes it a criminal offence to advocate for the abolition of the monarchy in print, so when this goes up on Spotify, we've all... Even by peaceful means. This law results in life imprisonment. Now, to be fair, it's not enforced anymore, but this raises a question combined with the Erskine May Convention. With these combined, how would you even go about debating this in Parliament? Like, think of how skirtish they were to do it with Brexit initially. Could MEs even legally debate abolishing the monarchy?
That's the... You don't have the bell, so...
Oh, right, no worries. I was like, what the fuck is that? Another reason why I would like to see the monarchy established is because of what the institution represents. The sovereign grant is the funding taken from taxpayer pounds that funds the lavish lifestyles of the royal family. Between 2021 and 2022, the sovereign grant received £102.4 million, which was an increase of 17% from the previous 12 months. Now, I'm sure we've all heard the argument from defenders of the monarchy that they put more into the economy through tourism, but that's not quite true. The UK's monarchy capital value as a business is £67.5 billion, while its annual contribution to the economy in 2017 was £1.76 billion. Think of this, between 2021 and last year, the monarchy received £102.4 million from our tax money, and there are other ways that money could have been put into place that would have actually helped individuals. For example, the Shankill alone has space to build over 330 more homes. Money that could have gone into building affordable housing in one of the most deprived areas of Belfast. No. It went to a family of spoilt, entitled children. Like I said earlier, the monarchy isn't good for tourism. Here are a set of facts. UK tourism is a major part of the economy, worth £127 billion a year. Visit Britain inaccurately stated that the royal family bring in £500 million annually, and when a Freedom of Information request was sent, Visit Britain couldn't substantiate the claim. Those numbers don't add up. Revenue from St Paul's Cathedral was included in the claim. It's easy to believe the monarchy are great for tourism because journalists are hacks and don't want to print real news.
Point of information?
No. Sorry, Luke, but no. There is no impact on the economy. If we are to take the 500 million that is claimed that the Royals bring into tourism, but if you look at the 500 million number, it's a tiny figure when compared to the total GDP in the tourism industry. These figures only show that it represents 0.01% of the economy, 0.3% of income from the tourism industry, and 1.9% from the heritage tourism. Another thing I'll say is that the French still get royal tourism and they beheaded their leaders. I'm not suggesting in any way that we Cromwell King Charles, but it's just worth pointing out that France still gets them and they don't have a royal family. No. Ideally, I'd turn Buckingham Palace into the world's biggest Weatherspoons. No. Polling on the subject of the royal family is quite telling. Whilst it remains a fact that the family are very popular among older generations, such as President Orchin, there is a growing sense of unpopularity in younger people. Only 42% of young people between 18 and 24 are in favour of keeping the monarchy, and the numbers are slowly declining with older age groups as well.
Okay.
If trends are to continue in such a fashion, then eventually the royal family are going to occupy space in a society that doesn't want them. Now, if you think I wasn't going to bring up Prince Andrew or Prince Harry, you're out of your fucking mind. Let's start with Prince Andrew, close friend of world-renowned paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. He's been alleged to have done some very not so nice things to a woman named Virginia Guthrie, and in an interview that is now infamous, he defended himself against the allegations of sexual misconduct. He was described a particular evening where he was supposed to have been pictured with Virginia and Ghislaine Maxwell. He vehemently denied that the photograph was real, and he did not, in fact, repeatedly have sex with a minor who was being trafficked by one of the most prolific paedophiles of our time. Now, part of the claim was that Prince Andrew was very sweaty in these kind of encounters. Now, Andrew pushed back on this claim by saying because he was shot at in the Falklands, he couldn't sweat, but if you see pictures of him in Tramp nightclub, he looks like a fucking water slide. He also denied the allegations by saying that he could not possibly have had sex with a minor because he was having dinner with his daughter in a Pizza Express in Woking, because that's so memorable. In the same interview, Andrew said he had to fly to Epstein's mansion in New York after his original release from prison for procuring a minor for sex trafficking, because he had to end the relationship between them, over a weekend of partying, because he said he was too honourable. Now, I'll let the house make up. No worries. I'll let the house make up the mind.
This is what happens when the bell mysteriously disappears.
Prince Andrew ended up settling out of court with Miss Guthrie with a sum of £12 million. Now, he's either really honourable, like he said, or he's a lying piece of shit. Now, with Prince Harry, his oscillating, frostbitten penis show what he and the rest of the royal family are. Spoilt, vain, entitled people who are out of touch with what it means to be a normal person. The royal family represent a division in wealth. The gap between the haves and the have-nots is illustrated by one super fucked up family. They are a stain on our great nation, and we would do well to have an elected head of state, like a president who is actually held accountable to the British people. I hope you vote with us the proposition on this motion, and much like Liz Truss said, abolish the monarchy. Thank you.
Next for the first speaker for the opposition is, I don't know what his name is, it's not appearing on the screen.
Thank you, Dr. Orchin. It's a great pleasure to be speaking in our 173rd birthday debate on a motion that was, as Orchin said before, was actually the first topic the Literific ever debated. On the 8th of December 1885, when we moved away from academic paper reading to debating, the first motion they chose to discuss was on the comparative merits of republican and monarchical government. Now, I recognise that monarchy is a controversial topic in this part of the world, tied up as it is with community, identity, nationality and constitutional aspiration. But I asked the House tonight to examine the merits of constitutional monarchy, irrespective of your community background or identity. Look beyond the individuals who inhabit the role and look at the empirical evidence of both the benefits of monarchy as an institution. While the death of the late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has undoubtedly increased calls to question the monarchy, it's so much more than one individual. Because while I did have a great admiration and affection for her late Majesty, I've always been a monarchist rather than a royalist. I'm not interested in the personalities or the gossip in the tabloids, but in the monarchy as an integral part of the UK's uncodified constitution. That's the UK's uncodified constitution, by the way, not the UR or United Republic. Ladies and gentlemen, to demonstrate to you the importance of constitutional monarchy, I'd like you to think of your least favourite US president, whether that's Donald Trump or Joe Biden. I imagine for most of you it's probably President Trump. Now, imagine if during Trump's time as president, he had to leave the White House every week and drive down Pennsylvania Avenue to a palace. He'd get out, go inside the palace, and be greeted by Uncle Sam, the living, breathing embodiment of the nation, someone more important than him. Uncle Sam couldn't tell him what to do, but Trump would have to bow before him and explain what his administration had been up to during that week. Constitutional monarchy is a fantastic form of government that maximises democracy and reduces the power of tyrannical leaders. No, thank you. The monarch cannot vote or express contentious opinions, so you might think, well, what's the point? But putting a symbolic figurehead at the top denies power to others. No matter how powerful the Prime Minister is, they cannot put themselves in charge of the military, make the courts solely accountable to them. When you think about the structure provided by monarchy, Is it any wonder that constitutional monarchies are disproportionately represented at the top of the World Democracy Index? Of the 20 most democratic countries in the world, 10 of them are monarchies: Norway, Sweden, Denmark, UK, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, Luxembourg, the Netherlands and Spain. This number is disproportionate with the number of nations that are monarchies. Monarchs are not only capable of coexistence with democracy, in many ways they enhance it.
On that point,
No, thank you. We need not look at authoritarian regimes. The US presidency, while kept in check by their codified constitution, is very monarchical. They cost $700 million a year, nearly 3 times the cost of the royal family, and everyone calls them Mr. President for the rest of their lives.
On that point,
yeah, go ahead.
would that amount of money not just be because the US president is a much bigger security issue than a monarch travelling, so the actual cost is probably proportionately, considering the amount of people who would be interested in assassination, far less?
Yeah, I do think we're a bit lax on the security for the Prime Minister, but that's kind of beside the point. Instead, the basic point here is that we do, as human beings, we have a tendency to look to a figurehead. So instead of, like the US president, for example, we get our authoritarian kick by lining the street to cheer for an old man who likes to hug trees and has no power, not Jeremy Corbyn, King Charles III. Now, a monarch is better suited to be a head of state than any elected official, as they represent all of their people, regardless of their politics. This is especially important in an age of increasing polarisation. Queen Elizabeth had an approval rating averaging 90%. Before becoming a monarch, Charles had an approval rate of 56%, but this has now increased to over 70%. The vast majority of politicians could only dream for these ratings. These approval ratings have only been gained by US presidents during times of war. Truman following World War II and Bush following 9/11. Now, Queen Elizabeth reigned through the terms of 13 US presidents, providing the country with a stable figurehead over a long period of time. This provided institutional memory. Prime ministers had weekly meetings with her in which they benefited from a wealth of experience accumulated over decades. Now, you might think, as a proud member of the Literific, and I'll finish on this, if monarchy is so good, why is the Literific not a monarchy? Why is it an unstable banana republic with a president? Well, I'm actually here to tell you that the Literific is a constitutional monarchy. There is a secret clause in the Constitution that requires every president to go and bow before the plaque of our first president, E.L. Godkin, in the Lanyon Building every week and explain what they are doing. And Matt Lee will be able to confirm with you that that is the case. The ghost of Godkin appears before them and offers support and advice. This is why the society survived so long despite political upheaval. And that is why monarchy is the best form of government.
Thank you very much. Please now on to our second speaker for the proposition.
I'm going to enjoy this. So I'd like to, obviously thank the Literific for inviting the Students' Union back in the start of January. So, I'm not going back on that decision in recent weeks. Obviously, I've been told by numerous people in the Students' Union to come in with a certain amount of respect, and I'd just like to start by expressing my deep admiration for the bootlicking cuckoldry in the opposition. For holding such a authoritarian, useless, subordinate position. And obviously for the opinions expressed, which is a false dichotomy between a democracy and a dictatorship. If you write that report to the Students' Union, I swear to God, I will beat What do I do?
Smile and wave.
Ignore again.
I got you. Obviously, the last speech was actually a false dichotomy between the president and president of the United States and the current monarchy. Obviously, there are numerous forms. We're talking about abolishing the monarchy, not establishing a US-style dictatorship, which is very, realistically, there's not much difference there. Yes, 10 of the what was it, 10 of the top 20 on the Democratic Index, which again is a useless way of analysing it because it doesn't measure like economic democracy, but Jesus. But if it turned out the case, it's largely because the more stable areas are the more democratic. The more stable areas tend to be because they've stabilised themselves based on a rapid exploitation of the third world, which is largely driven by empires, which that would be an alternate explanation for it, and a more honest one potentially, rather than, oh, the monarchy is keeping things stable. Wise up. But anyway, this is not on whether the monarchy is good or bad. This motion that I've decided while sitting there, to be honest with you, I'm running an election here, the motion specifically is on whether this House would abolish the monarchy. Now, the argument I'm going to make is that so much of not just British establishment, because Britain, of course, is now international. I'm sorry, Luke. Britain is now international, and so the entire establishment, the entire systems of the world are very closely linked in, and the legal system is very closely linked in with the monarchy. If you look at Parliament, the parliamentary laws very much, depends upon the monarchy at a very base level. The argument that I'm going to make is that if we were to abolish the monarchy, there would be absolute and utter chaos. And from what I can see, this House would absolutely fucking love that. The chaos that the abolishing the monarchy would bring would be nothing more than the absolute utopia that this House craves, and the absolute chaos that the Student Union would also crave. So, I haven't really got much more than that, because to be honest with you, I am absolutely shattered. But can I just say, please vote for this motion. How do you do it in here? Do you say please vote for this motion, vote in favour? Sorry? What's it?
It's not like we really keep customs here, so...
Yes, I can tell.
I'm just gonna find it.
Someone's going to make a Jewish joke about that later. So for clarification, I am Jewish. I need to clarify that. Yes, so please vote for this motion and rain hell down on the establishment. Yes, Daniel.
You're asking us to vote
for chaos, yes.
For the proposition for the chaos. Would you say on the principle of valuing the chaos, we should abolish the monarchy in one hand and in the other abolish the SU as well?
Abolishing the Student Union would only lead to the student matters being led by an arm of the university, one of the most authoritarian places in the dictatorship, which I know you all love, obviously with the bootlicking cuckoldry, as I before mentioned. Now, while some people may appreciate feeling the cold steel boot of the university on their necks, I personally don't think that this would bring about more chaos. And also, has anyone been inside the Student Union? If anyone knows anything about the Student Union? Yep.
On the point of the university's boots, have you seen that Ian Gray actually has quite nice shoes?
I had a retort in my head, but I remember what's happened over the past few weeks and I don't want to say it. Actually, I haven't. I haven't been able to look quite down low enough in any of the meetings and negotiations. But does anyone else have any points of interest? Because I've got fuck all, to be honest with you. What's that about?
On that point,
Bells, they lost it, so I mean.
Yeah.
On that point, so what would you advocate as a replacement system for a monarchy?
See, I'm not advocating for a replacement system. I'm saying this House would absolutely just embrace chaos.
Okay.
Yeah.
So communism.
Well, I would personally argue for that. But only after we've got rid of a few of you. Communism's too good for some people in this room.
On that point.
Yeah, you in particular. You definitely. Why are you still here?
I would propose to you due to the death to see if this turns into a communist dictatorship or a monarchical way of life.
Way of life?
Yeah, sure. Wait, does this need to go to the House? Is that a proposition that needs to go to the House? I don't know how this works here.
On that point,
aye.
does one of you have to slap the other with a glove?
Here. Here's a glove.
I'm not letting you anywhere fucking near me. Alright, wrap up. So please vote for this proposition. Sorry, I didn't think about this a bit more. It's been quite a hectic day. Thanks very much. Cheers.
So,
Our next speaker, I think this is your debut, is it? So, yeah, go. Daniel here, his opening up for the second opposition, so take it away.
Well, thank you for that. I personally love to hear an SU officer call another institution ineffective. Mr. Acting President, members of the opposition, members of the proposition and members of the House, I plan to argue against this motion on 3 key points. The first being that the monarchy makes a substantial contribution to the British economy as a whole, as well as charities and business each year. Number 2, the monarchy makes a substantial contribution to international relations and our standing in the world. And 3, the monarchy's constitutional role is still incredibly important even in our democracy. Ultimately, the monarchy is more to me personally than these 3 points. It is deeply ingrained into my culture and identity, as well as the culture and identity of millions in my home of Yorkshire and right across the UK. However, I accept that in this day and age, people need to be convinced with arguments and figures beyond this. So allow me to highlight...
On that point?
No. Highlight the extremely positive contribution the monarchy makes to the United Kingdom at home and abroad, and why you should oppose this motion tonight. Business valuation consultancy Brand Finance, I have read the same report you were, I presume you were alluding to earlier, found the monarchy contributed £1.8 billion to the UK economy in 2017, with a total institutional value of £67.5 billion, figures which have grown every year since the start of their report in 2012. This significant contribution includes areas such as tourism, contributions directly to the Exchequer and royal warrants, which I'll touch on shortly. The monarchy's tangible assets in the form of the Crown Estate, Royal Collection Trust and the duchies of both Lancaster and Cornwall are all worth approximately £25.5 billion, with surplus revenue from the Crown Estate going directly to the Treasury, which then calculates approximately between 15 and 25% to send back to the royal family in the form of the sovereign grant. The remaining 75 to 85% is then used exactly the same as other forms of public spending, including on public services, defence, etc., etc. While some may complain about the sovereign grant coming from the public purse, it is clear that year on year the Crown Estate's profit is about 3 to 5 times more than the sovereign grant itself, meaning they make an incredible capital contribution to the Treasury each year.
On that point?
No. Just recently, we saw the King waive the royal family's share of the £1 billion of wind farm profit, instead insisting that their share, which again would be 15 to 25%, should be used for the public good. In addition, the power of royal patronage cannot be underestimated. Following the King's accession, the royal household is conducting a review of royal patronages, but as the Prince of Wales, he was the patron of 420 charities, raising their profile and thereby their income streams. A vast number of these charities are smaller organisations, sometimes working on a local basis in a handful of communities or an extremely specialist area that may not gather the same media attention that your big charities would. So the power of the royal patronage elevates their reputation and provides them with vital publicity, and they may, without this publicity, fall under the radar of philanthropists and all those wanting to contribute to vital charitable causes, and it allows for their work, achievements and contributions to society to be recognised. This publicity extends to businesses, large and small, who benefit from the monarchy's royal warrant scheme, permitting certain businesses to use the coat of arms on their brand, demonstrating that they supply the royal household with their goods. Throughout her reign, Queen Elizabeth granted over 2,000 royal warrants to these businesses, and in 2017 it represented an approximate uplift of £193 million to businesses with these warrants. These includes a large number of small businesses as well. It's also clear that the monarchy serves a significant diplomatic role in enhancing the UK's soft power on the international stage and utilising their renowned reputation to the UK's benefit. In hard figures, their contribution to UK trade is estimated at around £150 million per year, which then helps to grow companies, sustain jobs and bolster economic growth. Aside from this, members of the royal family act as ambassadors when on international visits. Throughout her 70-year reign, for example, Her Majesty the Queen made countless foreign trips and state visits, bringing with them influence for the United Kingdom on the world stage. We saw just yesterday the King meeting with President Zelensky of Ukraine, where the two held talks in private for 30 minutes, reportedly discussing the war and Britain's significant role in supporting the nation. The involvement of the royal family in diplomatic relations can only serve to strengthen our ties with countries across the world. The tributes following the death of the late Queen Elizabeth serves to demonstrate the weight that the royal family hold on the world stage, and it is only right that such weight and reputation is utilised to the UK's advantage. You simply don't get this from presidential systems. And finally, I turn to the monarchy's constitutional role. Whilst people often discuss royal assent, I wish to highlight something often forgotten. The sitting monarch effectively acts as the ultimate insurance policy against any tyrannical leader. This is because the monarch can technically block legislation and remove ministers, although by convention this power will almost certainly never be used. But it serves as a good constitutional safeguard built into our fluid, uncodified constitutional system. The proposition may argue that this is undemocratic, but as we see right across the world, countries have safeguards built into their system to prevent such tyrannical leaders, and the UK is no different. The monarchy is a core part of our culture, but also our economy, our constitution, and our standing in the world, and this is why I urge you to oppose this motion. God save the King.
Can I ask another round of applause for what was his main speech?
Opposition, we're over halfway. I'm sure you're all happy to know. So I think Connor.
Hello, House. The opposition would have you believe that anti-monarchy sentiment is just the bitter nature of green-wearing, alcoholic, potato-munching, interview with the vampire, Catholic guilt-relating, rabbit-like breeding Irish Catholics. However, I come to you not just as an Irish Catholic, but as an Irish American Catholic, which means I'm not only in favor of abolishing the monarchy, but I actually have two very distinct reasons for doing so. Now, in my opinion, America would not exist without the monarchy, because Americans like to define themselves as being diametrically opposed to the crown because, no taxation without representation. They wanted to consolidate the power in Britain. Americans weren't too thrilled about that. They were actually kind of bummed about it. So if you are pro-America, which I have to say, poor taste, then you are pro-monarchy. So, just consider it. You gotta consider these things on multiple fronts. Thank you, James. I would like to give a couple of examples of what the monarchy has given us. None of them particularly positive. We have HBO's The Prince. Has anyone heard of that show? It makes Velma blush. That's how quality the writing is. The art style makes my eyes want to bleed. It's very reminiscent of Big Mouth, only somehow worse, which I wasn't actually sure was possible, but it's good to raise the ceiling sometimes, I guess. Something that I'm shocked actually has been mentioned more often, Harry's memoir. It is fascinating we managed to go so long without talking about his genitalia. It is truly impressive. I'd like to commend the House for avoiding that for so long, actually. Congrats, we're growing. I'm so proud. Now, there will be some sacrifices in the event that the monarchy is abolished, although I hope that we do not think Bridgerton is a good enough reason to support the monarchy, but, mad freaks, who knows. Speaking of famous kings such as Mad George in Bridgerton, I would like to bring up King Arthur, one of England's most famous kings. Now, a lot of the time when the monarchists are defending the royal family, they're very pro-tourism. But if the royal family cared about tourism, would they not name one of their children after Arthur? It's been quite a long time since we've named a royal child after Arthur. And I think it's because the throne knows they're unworthy. Because Arthur, the once and future king, hasn't come back yet, which means apparently we're not living in apocalyptic times, which, surprising, but whatever. He'll pick his moment.
One of the children actually has a middle name Arthur, so it could take the original name of Arthur.
Do you think middle names count?
Yeah, because
they don't. Those are for witches. Jesus Christ. Let's do a little bit more of tourism. I've gone to London once. Don't intend to go again. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Why?
You gotta know the game to play the game, you know? I went once, and I can assure everyone here I went to precisely 0 royal landmarks. I had no interest. I spent almost an entire day looking for the life-size TARDIS replica that's on one of the streets.
On that point?
It was good. Yes.
Why?
Well, you see, in primary school, when a child has no friends, now let's talk etymology. Does anyone know what word tyrant comes from? I'll tell you. It comes from tyrannus, a Greek word for king. Now that's interesting. Now are we defending tyranny?
On that point?
3 for 3, let's go, yeah.
Yes.
Enough of you.
Gotta rearrange some of my stuff now. Oh, you heard it? I mean, they're supporting tyranny, guys. I mean, at least you're open about it. I respect that. You know, honesty's the best policy. No. Yeah, the monarchy, let's talk about the Habsburgs for a second. It's not, now listen, I'm not one to ugly shame. I don't think I have a foot to stand on too much, because let's keep ourselves humble, you know? But the sheer amount of incest is almost impressive. Yes.
Have you ever been to South Down?
No.
Why?
Why would I? Pardon me.
On that point. You all people.
Oh, thank you for the illustrations. Appreciate it.
I decide after 20 minutes.
Now, for those of you who think I approach this too jokingly, I am happy to inform you. This is because I cannot even fathom someone genuinely arguing for the monarchy in a context other than a joke. My teammates have and will continue to hammer in the atrocities the monarchy's continued existence have done. You know, just top of my head, colonialism. I mean, guys, it's a legacy. It sticks. That's kind of the point, you know? Let's talk about... Yes.
You're aware that Britain was the first country to abolish the slave trade and spent a great part of the early 19th century stopping slave ships.
A lot of that reason was they wanted to financially incentivize some of the slaves that were still in America to come back to Britain.
Perhaps it was Americans that wanted to continue.
How much time do I have?
You currently have, wait a second, we have about 35, no.
Concessions to democracy have been consistent, and I believe they will continue in the near future. The most notable example being, of course, the dying franchise Burger King, who, in America at least, as a result of the feminist wokeism, was murdered by Comrade Wendy in his bed. Why do you think her hair is red? Now, about approval ratings, it's almost... the opposition mentioned approval ratings. It's almost like the royal family doesn't have to make any hard, impactful decisions that would damage their approval ratings, unlike actual political leaders. Very strange. And now, to continue the levity which I've treated this debate, I will conclude as such. I'm the only she-her in this debate, so if you side with opposition, I will be setting Roisin on you for misogyny.
Well, again, interesting. Well, now you on to the third opposition speaker, the Donnybrook Bandit himself, Dr. Doodle, the rat, Donnybrook Street, Mr. Dermot Hamill, our little Lord Hamill.
I feel like I should address the hat before we get into it.
Please, sir, may I have some more?
No, you may not, Oliver. But
Rebuke him already.
I rebuke you! There we go, there it's done. This belongs to Sam's great-grandfather, and I thought, well, I'm a South Armagh Republican. How can I commit to the bit? And I think I've committed to the bit a little bit too much. But I assure you, I promise it's definitely a bit.
Yeah, right.
I also would like to today, in the day that's in it, pay tribute to a very special birthday. Today is the birthday of the Lord Carson, my dear Unionist hero, and I feel like that ought to be recognised in the House tonight. And I start off with a quote from Lord Carson, as I always do. Ireland, north, south, east and west, has suffered nothing as much as the broken pledges of British statesmen. Now, why is that relevant tonight? For once we're actually talking about British statesmen. Rishi Sunak, British statesman, shit. If it were not for British statesmen, we would not have the turmoil we have today. If it were not for British statesmen like Jeffrey Donaldson and Martin McGuinness, we would not have the mess we have here in dear sweet Belfast. And as we look at Stormont tonight, I'm reminded of another good quote from the Lord Carson himself.
On that point.
No. As Ulster says, no. I am here tonight under the most tragic circumstances, with the possibilities of grave and difficult operations in Belfast and in Ulster within almost a few days. I am here to tell you solemnly and honestly that we intend to see this matter through. The cost may be great, the sufferings may be terrible, and that is what these bastards offer you tonight. The atheists, what they offer you is woke, liberal, atheistic rubbish. Don't care. They offer you secularism. They offer you democracy. No. Democracy is for the weak. What I am offering you tonight is not constitutional monarchy, because constitutional monarchy is for fools. What I offer you is the opportunity to unite under one leader.
Oh my God.
Go for it.
Is it Barry Ahern?
As I said previously, DeBert is back. But what we must do is we must look at an absolute monarchy we have right here in the Queen's University of Belfast. We have the FEMSA. The most aggressive, militant-run society in all of Queens. With a queen herself here tonight in the form of Roisin Keenan, who, as we know, has maintained political stability, has made sure that there has never been any drama whatsoever in the FEMSA, because that would never happen, compared to here where we have a presidency where we'll say nothing about. Because fuck it, if I'm going down, you're all going with me.
On that point,
Go for it.
on that point, as a South Armagh person myself, do you think you're safe going home at this point?
Can I see that from them?
No, not John. I have to pay for it. If you don't, I'm coming for you.
This is the flag under which we will unite under dear Bertie Ahern. So I say, commit to monarchy because you want better for your children. You want better for your communities.
On that point.
No. Because Noah. Because Noah. What you offer me is nothing. You offer me, or as I said, broken pledges and empty promises. That is what you offer me. And I tell you, boy, I reject it. I refute it.
Say the word.
And I rebuke it. And I tell you, boy, I rebuke you. I rebuke you. And Jacqueline, I'll tell you this, I rebuke you two. And more than anyone at all, Ulcan, McSparran, HLM, I rebuke you. Because Christ. What I ask you tonight, my friends, is to unite under one leader. One who has the support of the Church of Rome. It is time for a true, absolute monarchy. Ulster will not have home rule. It will have one rule. And that will be Bertie Ahern. Bertie was never bad to me. He was always good to us. He did nothing wrong. I don't know who said that.
Ding ding. Go on.
But what I ask you tonight, my friends, and what I must tell you, is we in Ulster will tolerate no Sinn Féin. But we tell you this, that if having offered you our help, you are yourselves unable to protect us from the machinations of Sinn Féin, and you won't take our help, well then we tell you that we will take the matter into our own hands. We will reorganise. Now Edward Carson said that in 1920. And while we are not fighting Sinn Féin here tonight, we're fighting democracy. Which is something strangely alien to Sinn Féin. My kneecaps are fucked. My friends, we in Ulster will tolerate no democracy. We tell you that we will protect, if you are unable to protect yourselves from the machinations of democracy, we will do it for you on the opposition. I beg of you. No. I beg of you, listen not to democracy as it sits. Oppose democracy. Unite under one leader. Let it be Bertie Ahern. And let us do it together. Oppose this motion.
Well, that was actually the first speech Dermot has given here that has not mentioned our very friends, the rats.
What the rats?
Someone from the Alpen. Someone from the Alpen. No, the pen. I like a prompt.
So the fourth speaker for the opposition is, from my perspective, it's Cam McSparran, but we'll call him Ulcan.
Whenever I first joined this illustrious society, something really struck me whenever I entered the room was that there used to be a portrait of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II that hung right where that fellow whose name I do not know is there. So yes. And I'm actually going to say that I actually agree with the opposition on something, and I believe that we should hang a portrait of Bertie Ahern where her portrait used to be. However, as Mr. Luke Combs can testify to, the 171 also believed it would be acceptable to hang Julian from UTV in that same spot. But one thing that I've heard much tonight is we've heard a lot of talk about the benefits the royal family do for tourism. We've heard about the money they've brought in. And so I was kind of looking at this, and it seems to me that we've got the taxpayer, us giving us money, we then giving government money and giving the king money. We then have the government, which then passes the money on up, and then the lords do it again. It then goes to the monarchy, and the king effectively owns everything, and then it's reversed. So, and then it kind of goes down to us. But if I kind of reverse this, I have come to the conclusion that the United Kingdom is a pyramid scheme. And that's the only accurate way to look at it. On a more serious note, however, we of the proposition are not here to focus on any one individual member of the monarchy. We are not here to jeer and jest at figures within the royal family. They're people who have flaws like all of us. We are not even here to criticise individuals for their actions and numerous different scandals. These scandals, while painting a very disturbing image of the individuals involved, do not truly address the core of this debate. The core that is this debate is why should we abolish the institution that is the monarchy? The monarchy itself goes beyond any one individual. It is bigger than Charles, it is bigger than William, it is even bigger than Her late Majesty, the Queen. As Ryan said, it is bigger than the royal family. The opposition have claimed tonight that the monarchy as an institution is a key aspect, a core component of British society and quite possibly the world if you listen to Dermot. Something we can look up to, admire even. It creates economic growth and that any alternative will be inevitably worse. They have argued that monarchy is a fundamental good and is truly doing us any harm. It operates in the background. It covers up the cracks. Yes?
Would you say Bertie Ahern is not ultimately good?
Look, Bertie never did any harm to me. However, I cannot possibly speak for an entire nation. The reality is, however, that the monarchy does do harm and it hinders all of society as it stops us from achieving a better future. The monarchy, the system, the firm, propagates and nurtures a viewpoint, a dangerous viewpoint, that we are not all equal, that through birth some people are born superior to others, that some members of society, the royal family, by default are deserving of their wealth, privilege and status. This is a charade. We have seen this historically play out countless times. In ancient Egypt, the pharaohs were viewed as gods. European monarchs for centuries spoke of the divine right of kings. Now in the UK, we have a constitutional monarch. The Op claims that this removes all these problems, that these people are now equal, just like us. Yet when Charles is coronated, no, he will be anointed. Something we will never see. The cameras will be turned away. The public will not view the anointment. And God's supposed blessing will be directly bestowed onto him. One man, greater than the rest of us. Charles, not for his actions, but because of his lineage, will receive power, privilege and authority. How can any supposedly modern society accept this? Yes, who said on that point? Oh, right.
Should Bertie Ahern be anointed and follow the public? He's a broken man.
Do you want to know something? Do you want to know? I'm not going to anoint Bertie Ahern in front of the public because you covering Bertie in oil just sounds like something weird I don't want to do. Monarchy creates a system, an idea in which superiority is based on not where you're going from life, but where you come from. This weakness undermines so much of the UK, creating a class system of inequality that some people are simply viewed as better than others because of birth. This flaw at the core of the UK stems from the monarchy and the ideals it has been a proponent of for centuries. I will not deny other countries have problems. Have problems of viewing where you come from as more important than where you're going. America has racism issues running deep. Russia has imperial ambitions. The French just don't like anyone. But no modern country has the view of superiority because of birth enshrined to its very core. Britain does. We can clearly see the effects, all for the negative, this is having on the UK. One can make money, yes. One can never, though, truly be accepted by the upper echelons of society, breaking through the steel sheets that separate class from class. There will always be a barrier between, I'm going to be going about 3 minutes over this, a barrier between you and the so-called high and mighty. Occasionally, some right-wing, lower middle-class Tory politician will delude themselves they will be accepted, no. But deep down, they know they won't because they're just not the right sort. I asked the opposition this. They say they do not want to abolish the monarchy, but in saying so, they admit that they view a group of people as superior to them. No matter what they do, they will never be equal to this group of people. I am surprised that they have not attacked the idea of a presidential system. I am surprised we have not heard President Thatcher or Blair yet. But I would say this here, would you not rather have your head of state picked through elections and based on merit rather than them being a person simply anointed by birth? In 1776, the US colonies, my colleague Jacqueline comes from, broke away from the then British Empire. In the constitution of this new United States, there was a profound line: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights that are among them life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness. The monarch in its continued existence spits in the face of this worldview. We cannot have this special group of people. We can only have us as individuals. I've been reading a bit of Shakespeare recently, and one quote from Hamlet comes to mind. What a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, like a god. No. Hamlet, a prince, said this statement with irony, but what he says with irony, we in the proposition say with conviction. Hamlet talked about the human society and how we can all reach the highest levels of, which is why I will now skip ahead a little bit more in my speech and simply come to this. I leave the audience with a question. Tomorrow when you wake up, would you not rather wake up thinking we are all equal, that no matter where we come from, we can aspire to greatness? The opposition are saying this is a challenge and it's impossible, but it's not a challenge that should be started from. So I implore you to vote with the proposition and abolish the monarchy to create a better world. Thank you.
So, lastly speaking, and very ironically, following the promotions here, is President Emeritus Nat Lee.
Thank you, and thank you, Acting President Orchin. It's good to see the society is still in good form and still rather left-wing. I'm going to take you on a journey. I want to talk about a period in time, that time being 1997, where a certain Tony Blair won election. And I just want you to imagine that we have a presidential system. Hertfordshire's just come in, its 10 electoral votes have gone to Blair. The US then gift 2 Hummer limousines that Blair can then sit in, more extra money. We then have Blair Force One launched as President Blair goes across the world to talk about how he's going to save them and then carpet bomb them the following week. So the proposition have given a very compelling argument tonight. I'm hearing the words President Thatcher, which I quite like. I'm hearing the words President Cameron, which no one likes. And I'm hearing the term President Boris Johnson, who's just arrived at Armistice Sunday again with his fully funded taxpayer security and a limousine again. So are we going to accept the proposition's argument this evening? Are we going to accept the argument of an institutionally racist nation when Her Majesty the Queen herself opposed Mrs. T on apartheid in South Africa and kind of broke constitutional conventions, not yet, to discuss what she thought was the correct act for Her Majesty's government? When Her Majesty the Queen danced with the first black African leaders directly elected, breaking all royal protocol just to show a significant equality between herself and these elected black African presidents. When she visited a US African-American woman's home in Washington, again, breaking royal protocol, and that was described as the best experience of that woman's life. If the proposition want to argue for a socialist head of state, I'd argue they already have one. His Majesty King Charles III is a tree-hugging eco-liberal, and that's probably the closest that they'd get to an elected head of state that was a socialist. Noah, you gave some brilliant arguments as the first speaker for the proposition. You talked about taxpayers' money. Taxpayers' money is never well spent anyway. How it can't be discussed in Parliament as it's not a ministerial position, and how they can't debate the fact of abolishing the monarchy as a serious proposition. Now the issue is, this is not a serious proposition, ladies and gentlemen. As we have had our first speaker on the opposition, Ryan Hoey, discuss this evening, support for the monarchy remains at all-time highs. Charlie Boy has 70% support. The Queen, late Queen, Her Majesty the Queen, had, yep, I'll take that.
General support for something doesn't mean it's actually good. For example, Brian Hoey brought up the fact that it's good in monarchy, but it also encourages this blind nationalism where they do what the Queen wants instead of what's actually good for the country.
Well, I think that every nation has a symbolic figurehead, as Ryan spoke about Uncle Sam, and we'll get on to the Americans later. That is a rallying point at times of crisis, and I think the monarchy has been a good rallying point at times of crisis. I remember affectionately at Grenfell disaster when Her Majesty the Queen arrived and was greeted very warmly by the crowds there and by the survivors there. And I recall when Theresa May, as the elected Prime Minister, arrived and was booed and heckled, obviously because of her poor position on that issue. But I think the separation between government and a non-elected head of state that's not controversial allows for a good rallying point at that time. Now, the second speaker for the proposition, Aidan, gave a very rousing rebel speech, as we like to prepare for. You spoke about the idea that we shouldn't compare ourselves to an American system, that we wouldn't immediately go to an American system. Now, Britain is on the verge of becoming the final state in the US. We've embraced Pepsi, Coca-Cola, every certain American brand now owns one of ours. I mean, I think Heinz Beans is now, no, not Heinz Beans, another one of the, Costa Coffee is owned by Coca-Cola. We've sold off all our assets to the Yanks or the Chinese. And I think by this point next year, if we had a democratically elected head of state, we'd probably be in the line for some kind of Johnson versus Starmer presidential election, which should be quite reminiscent of the Joe Biden-Trump competition that we've seen. The third speaker for the proposition, Jacqueline, gave a very good speech as well. You spoke about Irish Americans being an Irish American tourist. You're the first Irish American tourist I've never met outside Buckingham Palace. I don't think we'd have that many tourists once a right-wing president gets in charge and sells off the railings to pay for some bullshit government scheme. The final speaker for the proposition, Olkin, you spoke very firmly about the idea that the monarchy creates symbolic and institutional discrimination between classes and never really allows someone to aspire to be at the top. Now, I don't want to criticise our great Chancellor, Hillary Clinton, but the Clinton Foundation and the Bush family and the Obamas and all these other various dynasties really do ensure that you have to be one hell of a lucky American to get through the super PACs, beat Hillary Clinton in a primary and get elected. We're probably facing the first signs of a Trump dynasty emerging as well. And I think that in democracies all over the world, we can see powerful families rivaling for power. So why do I think that monarchy and the opposition has given the argument for the monarchy? Well, I think fundamentally no one wants to hear the terms that President Keir Starmer has been re-elected for a second term, for a third term, for a fourth term, for a fifth term. I think that's quite depressing all round. I think that we would find ourselves without a symbolic figurehead that we can embrace warmly. I think we'd find ourselves as an American vassal state embroiled in political scandal all over again. And unfortunately, as we've seen at the Literific, the long reign of Matthews has finally come to an end. With one little disparity in the middle of it. I think we had a Daniel in there. So then a rival dynasty took back over. So, members of the House tonight, if you want to be Americans, if you want a President Thatcher, if you like a President Blair, we won't have a communist system. We'll have slightly terrible centrist leaders. They're probably not right-wing enough for me. Probably too right-wing for you. No one will be happy. We could embrace a monarchy where we're slightly indifferent. They wear nice uniforms. They support charities. They do all the good stuff. We're all quite happy. Why would we embrace a presidential system where we have centrists that can't decide on things, gridlock? Unfortunately, your candidates will never get elected. We'd have Cameron Easters constantly, Starmerism, and I don't think anyone really wants it. So I say with all good heart, we should embrace the Duke of Lancashire, His Majesty King Charles III. We should embrace his long and fruitful reign, and we should wish that the monarchy forever continues. Alleluia, alleluia, God save the King.
As Gerald Ford said after succeeding Rich Nixon, our long national nightmare is over. So we come on to the penultimate part of the night where we get to all ask questions once more. So how this works is we do a round of questions for the proposition, which enables somebody from the proposition the answer, and then a rebuttal from the opposition. Then we do the reverse for an opposition question. And then we have abstention questions, which, to be fair, nobody understands how they work. I've been here long enough. Do you really? No. So let's begin with questions to the proposition. Is there anybody on the left-hand side of the room here? Oh, yes.
Yes, proposition. Christy Moore, not known for his monarchist sentiment, when he was with Moving Parts, with a song called Irish Ways and Irish Laws. I just want to reference, was it Dermot McMurrigan, the King of Leinster, who invited the English over? I understand there are quite a lot of kings in Ireland at that time. If you look at Munster's flag, it has 3 crowns on it. Even Phelim O'Neill, aka P. O'Neill, popular man down in South Armagh, was descended by Clarence, had a brother who was an earl. So my question, I suppose, is, are you anti-monarchist or are you just Anglophobic?
Oh dear. I mean, you get to decide. I don't decide what you do. God help us all.
Christy Moore, baby sat my mum, fun fact. But what do you call it? The other one I was going to say is this, is that we're, like, you're saying that we're Anglophobic, but we've clearly shown through our speech that we are against monarchy as a principle in general, hence when we talked about the United States, we talked about the French Republic. But one of the things that I would say is that, you know, the title of this debate was "This House Would Abolish the Monarchy" with a photo of King Charles, and I think in the spirit of this debate, it's clearly designed to be about the UK monarchy. So are we against all monarchy? Yes, because it's an outdated system from a bygone age. But having said that, in the context of this debate, then yes, we are against the British monarchy.
Period. And opposition to respond? I don't.
Well, we didn't hear any arguments about the absolute monarchy in terms of the Vatican City and the elected monarchy there. I mean, we didn't hear any arguments about the King of Thailand who goes shopping in his crop top frequently with his very I'll to inform you, it's not that way surprisingly. And we didn't hear any arguments against the constitutional monarchies that exist across Europe with popular support. I think what interesting. You can Google that when you get home. And we didn't hear any arguments against constitutional monarchies across Europe. I think it's interesting as well to raise the fact that one of the biggest arguments for me in favour of monarchy is actually the fall of Francisco Franco and the embracement of a constitutional monarchy that, albeit by a fascist, but who allowed the progression to a, I'm not fascist, who allowed the progression to a constitutional monarchy and democracy of which socialists sadly have been elected in.
Albeit by
Well. Right. Look, he continues this to have. Please don't. I won't be at your table. But okay, any questions for the opposition? Okay, Donegal boy.
This is for me, please. No, it's mainly directed towards Matt. You made a lot of sort of. I think one of your strongest points was the point that you want to have a symbolic person ahead of the state, and fair enough. That's a good point because the separation you don't get in America is kind of a bit damaging culturally. In the Republic, we have head of the government, we have the T-shirt, hopefully. And we have an individual who sort of embodies the spirit of the country and of the nation and what we want to be seen like in the international stage, which is, of course, Michael D. Higgins, and he embodies the spirit of the country. And I would put that there would be an option maybe to put that forward in the UK, say with somebody similar, somebody that we might be familiar with. Someone comes to mind for me is the Right Honourable Lou Marcian. I wonder, when that's an option, I don't think the point you're making, which is a particularly strong one, the foundational part of your argument, how do you sort of sidestep that?
Well, I reject the idea that the Irish presidential, I think the Irish presidential system is the best form of presidential governance. I think that, unfortunately, the Irish presidential system, in terms of how it is elected and the fact that parties, especially in recent years, and maybe Sinn Féin, have started fielding party political candidates, I don't think that the presidential system will remain as separated from the party political journey. I think in the last election we saw a candidate very viciously attack travelling communities as well. I'm weirdly clued up on Irish presidential elections. And I think that shows that there are elements that could get in. I think that Higgins is a very good ambassador for the Republic of Ireland, but I think eventually you will see politics creeping in there, and I've got to ask the honourable gentleman whether the 2-year seal is still intact.
A response
I
from...
don't know anything about that.
All right, response from the opposition. Please keep it brief. I would really like to get something to drink. So please.
McDonald, you're right in that the Irish presidential system is better, and I agree with Matt there as well. But the opposition implied a lot tonight that we were all arguing in favour of the American presidential system, which is not the case. I was arguing more in favour of the French system or the Irish system.
French.
But you know, to speak to a good point, like we're just criticising presidencies. Yeah, the American one's a bit annoying because they don't shut up, but still there's better system for it.
Right.
France.
That's good. Well, we'll be deducting 10% of your votes because of you advocating for the French then. But anyway, any abstaining... Better be. Any abstaining question, please, dear God, somebody please. Any abstaining questions? This is the one that's directed to both sides, but it probably... Please keep these answers brief. Yes.
I just want to get both sides' thoughts on, well, Ogden said at one point about the birthright of a monarch. Jacqueline said at one point that she is an American Catholic. Well, the point about birth, I would say, how about leaders are anointed by the Pope himself? That would satisfy the Catholicism. In fact, I would say that the Catholic part of you should be the most important part of you, if you didn't bring up so much. And the absolute monarchists over there, instead of, yes, I would be right in criticising you, saying birthright man is equal. See, of course it is. Of course man is equal. No one's born better. But the Pope can tell who it is.
I guess the proposition can talk about papal infallibility then. Okay, I'll let you start. Keep it to about 15 seconds. Let's go.
Well, like objected earlier, you seem to have latched onto the Catholicism part, but not the Catholic guilt part.
Aye.
Of ex-Catholics, not current Catholics.
Okay, stop now.
I reject the notion of the Pope satisfying this side of the debate. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. You actually did get 14 seconds. Well, right, you've got 14 now, Dermot. Go. 1, 2, 3.
Just say yes.
Just say 4, 5, 6. I can't count this high. 7, 8. What comes after that?
Somebody, isn't it?
Okay, well, I don't think I should subject them to another round, should you think? No. Right, so, now on to... Is there a slide for that or not? No, there's not. Oh, well, don't get rid of that, please, no. Right, vote on speaker ability. Now, theoretically here, you should be voting based on who you thought spoke best. Granted, about 10% of you probably will do that. The rest of you are just probably going to vote exactly how you did before or who you're friends with. So under the theoretical idea that you're voting based on speaker ability, all those who thought that the proposition spoke better, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Remember, obviously 10% of their votes are being deducted.
Worth it.
Best. Well, we don't know. I mean, we're not really a democracy here.
The idea of a president will ever fills me with dread, fear, and delight, so quite frankly,
I tried for it.
I get
Okay, and all those who thought that the opposition spoke better, please raise your hand and say nay.
Nay.
Tory gobbledygook is this?
It's common gobbledygook. Ooh, it's a massive swing here. And those of you who sat for the last 2 hours, your fingers in your ears going la 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 and didn't listen, or you're an Alliance voter, please raise your hand and say meh.
I'm a Fianna Fáil voter.
One. Madam Secretary, as I wasn't counting, can you please inform the House of the numbers?
There are 48 votes for the proposition, 22 votes for the opposition, and 1 abstention, so the proposition handed.
Right, that's that over, and I believe Mr. Dermot Hamill has something he'd like to say.
Right. So as you all know, I'm apparently internal convener, fill-in at the minute. Actually, give me a second, I need to actually check if this is full. No! Hold on. I'm not used to this isn't my fault. Right. We have one spot. We have 2 spots in opposition for This House Regrets the Rise of Dating Apps. So if you think Grindr, Tinder, a Hinge, Bumble, that weird Christian one are all really, really great things, then I welcome you to speak on this motion. I am saying now that I will not be speaking on this one next week, so you get to save yourself from that, but you only get to do it if you sign up. If I would really like two of you to join the opposition, please do, and that way you'll see if my fill-in speakers, you're signed up. That way our fill-in speakers won't have to do it. So, what? Well, you're a prop. Aye. Good lad. So yeah, if you don't regret dating apps, you think Grindr's cracking, please sign up. And come find me in the pub.